Hello and welcome to What It Is, the show of conversations on music news, history, and culture, brought to you by Independent Arts and Music of Asheville, recorded live at Echo Mountain Recording Studios here in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. I'm Joe Kendrick, very glad to be your host once again on the video edition of the show, joined today by Jay Sanders of Acoustic Syndicate, Caitlin Krisko of The Broadcast. We've got Jason Sandford of ashvegas.com, and Molly Kummerle of Paper Tiger, and also Molly Party DJs that I'm sure you've been to. We're all going to take on a, kind of an editorial today. We're talking about and debating the Hey Ho bands, and you know these bands. They're very popular now. Of Monsters and Men, Lumineers, Mumford and Sons, and all of these bands that have this sort of hey and ho kind of chorus. So we're calling them the Hey Ho bands. Debating their merit, they're wildly popular, and seeing where this conversation leads us, I'll start it off with a tweet that I caught from Ben Montench, which I had to chuckle at. It says, "God bless us everyone, but hasn't this hand claps, kick drums, gang vocal, faux Celtic trend run its course?" I ask you, Jay Sanders.
Has it run its course? Probably not. Should it? It's hard to say. I mean, I actually like some of it. I don't like all of it. I like some of it. My taste actually tends more towards the Avett Brothers because I think they're a little grittier. They've got a little more dirt in their sound, which resonates with me personally. But I don't dislike it at all. I mean, I also come from a point of view of having been in bands, a band that has for 20 years been trying to make pop music with a banjo. So I've been listening to this sound evolve for a long time, and I'm glad to finally hear something other than Squeezebox hit the top 40 with a very prominent banjo roll in it. That's not bluegrass. That's actually in a pop, some sort of pop context. So I have a little bit more of a slightly skewed opinion about it. But if you look at it just from the point of view of pure pop music, they're real bands and they're actually playing real music that they wrote. That to me always is leagues ahead of most of the crap that's mass produced in the commercial music pipeline. So I may not like all of it, but I give it merit.
Give me some skin on that, brother. I have to agree with you. Is it a little bit much? Is it overdone? Yes. But these types of songs have existed forever through pop culture. I mean, there's literally, hey, ho, let's go. It's literally those words. And I think it's always existed. I think it's a very easy way to create an anthemic song that people can attach to very easily. I think for people that aren't singers or vocalists, it's something that the mass culture can grab onto because it's yelling, it's chanting. I think there's something tribal about that.
You find that real commonly at sporting events.
Right.
When you have large, tens of thousands of people that can latch onto something and all use it as a unifying force for whatever it is that they're cheering on, whether it's a soccer team or whatever it is.
And even with what Jay said about on the radio, for real, I would genuinely rather hear an Avett Brothers song or a Mumford and Sons song than a Katy Perry song any day of the week. I just would prefer to hear that type of music. I love that live instrumentation music is starting to come back in pop culture. I think it's great that bluegrass influenced music or mountain influenced music is starting to become more mainstream. I think it shows a turn in the American music culture a little bit. Even in the Broadcast's new record, our first single, I'm not gonna lie, it shows "Don't Waste It." The chorus is, "Hey, are you gonna waste it?" And by the second chorus, everybody in the audience is, "Hey." And it's there's something about bringing a group of people together and offering them a unified sound that they can join in together that creates this energy in a room. And I think that's why people have grasped onto it so much and continue to grasp onto it throughout music history.
Yeah. I wanted to sort of talk smack about this trend, but I can't when I'm listening to the music and I'm yelling along with the song, It's like, oh, it got me again, It just pulls you along. I mean, it is sort of a white person's call and response,
That is a very good.
But I it gets me every time.
I know,
so
it really kind of does.
I can't say anything else. What do you think, Molly?
I was expecting everybody to hate on it and be like the person being like, I kind of really like it. But, I do. And maybe, I don't know if it's because I kind of started hearing it more at festivals when you're out in the open and there are all these people around and 15 people in the band on stage and it's just a sea of voices and layers, you know, and like Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros, the song Home,
Great
when
example.
everybody's just like, oh, it just feels good. You know, there's something about all of those vocals layered on top of each other that like hits you in the chest, you know, and it's just super moving, you know? And I personally, I think it's really good for instruments like the banjo to be showing themselves more in pop music. I think that it's good for people to see an instrument like that and recognize like, oh, just because it's a banjo doesn't mean it's only playing bluegrass in the woods. You know, it's like doing something, taking an instrument that doesn't necessarily exist in a genre and like letting people be okay with liking it without being like a redneck or, you know, like a bluegrass,
Definitely.
you know. So I think it's great. And a lot of the times the people in those bands are just super nice people, like the Lumineers. I DJ'd their tour manager's birthday party downstairs at Echo when they were in the studio recording their last record. And they're just super nice and they work really hard. And, you know, I think that in every like musical decade or like every couple years there's a one style of music that rises above, you know, and there are like 5 bands that come out that do that. And then 2 years later, only 2 of those bands are left. And so like, I think that, you know, that genre is coming up, but I think that it won't be quite so in your face soon. But I love it. I'm going to sing along.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you
love
mentioned
it.
like the idea of like when you first started seeing this trend, it was at the festivals and the open outdoor crowd mass sort of experience. And I actually was writing about this last night, the sort of what makes the live music experience so unique and so special. And I think what is so great about these Hey Ho songs is that it offers a musical unification amongst the audience, amongst the band members, and it creates this like triangle of energy almost because, and I'm sure that you guys can all agree on this on stage, like there are moments of transcendence. There are moments where you feel there is this source that's with you that's sort of feeding your energy and opening up sort of your channels to the people that are experiencing your music with you. And I feel like what's so special about the live music community is there is a band creating a musical experience on stage. They're offering it to the audience. The audience in turn gives back that energy to the band. And it becomes this like circular motion of energy that also connects with this like sort of higher energy source. And there's not really very often that you have that opportunity in life. You know, things that gather mass amounts of people, or I think I've said this even before on what it is, are, you know, religion, protests, war, and music. And I think people love live music so much because it gives us the chance to unify as a mass group of people. And I think that we inherently and instinctually want to connect with each other and want to see that common net throughout all of us. And I think that when you create music, that gives people a chance to connect to that net that we're all a
Are
part
you from
of.
Asheville?
she got with it real fast.
I know, it's like bad. I know that sounds really crunchy, but like if you remove all of like the heady lingo and stuff, it really is true. Like energy is a very real thing that we're trading amongst each other. And I don't know. I know that that's like really Asheville, but as a girl from Detroit, I feel like I'm allowed to say it.
Well, I think like on a less hippie way, because I'm an electronic singer. You know, live music, like especially stuff where there are a lot of like people respond really well to vocals because it's like it hits you in a sound frequency that, you know, it like resonates in your body. And so I think the more vocals, like, and especially like bands like that have that kind of like, you know, inviting you in to share the show, it creates a big sense of camaraderie. And, you know, like that's the kind of show that you would turn around to somebody and be like, you don't even know them, and you're like,
throw
oh
your
my
arm around them and
God,
start
I
singing.
love you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a sense of camaraderie. And I think people really want that, but they're kind of afraid to go for it unless there's that thing that opens them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't
I
forget
agree.
sports.
Don't get me wrong, I
Sports-
totally agree
sports
with you.
gather
Yeah,
people
major.
together too.
That's actually very true. Good point.
And
Sports
it
as well.
comes through, you know. The Lumineers played Grey Eagle there earlier this year, I think. I wasn't at the show, but they did the song, and, you know, I got swept up in watching the little YouTube video of it. So all that energy that you're talking about, you know, certainly comes through recorded performance as well. So
Yeah, and I think people really need that, you know? If it's a little pop song with a banjo and a ton of vocals, who cares?
Who cares?
It made me feel good.
It's like if you're writing your own music and you've created if you created a band and a collection of songs that you've made yourself, I just think that even if it's something you're not into personally, or something that you personally can't palate, I think there is a certain level of respect that every artist deserves to receive for simply creating original music. And I respect the fact that that original music is starting to come back in pop culture, that there's the days of the songwriter for the pop star, I think will always be here, but it's nice to see that there's bands coming back onto the mainstream.
And they're doing well.
And they're doing
making
well.
people feel good, and like that's awesome to me.
That is awesome.
It's kind of always been there. I mean, it's never really gone away that there were bands that were writing their own stuff. I will say this, though, if you want to debate the Hey Ho bands, is if you're starting a new band and you're writing music for yourself and you're continuing this experience that we're talking about, which is completely accurate, you guys are dead on, and it's true across all genres, no matter what you're playing, and you've got your new band and you think you don't need a drummer because somebody can stand up and play the kick drum and somebody else can stand up and play the snare drum, please don't.
Don't.
Please don't. Do something new, because I mean this style has been growing and building for a while now, and with Mumford, I would say it's hit its apex and it's time to push some new boundaries. I mean, I'm not ragging on the style. I like all these bands, but you've got to continue evolving. So rather than, if you are out there trying to create a new sound, don't mimic, create.
Absolutely.
And do the best thing, like play your music, like don't mimic somebody else's, like be original, you know.
I have to say, folks, we need Fred Mills on this panel. One of the original panelists of the What It Is on radio, because he would tell the kids to get off his lawn, I think, at this point. I think it was Fred that I read in Blurt who had said, and I could be wrong, but I think it was Fred that said it, it's the mating call of a generation.
Oh my God.
And so,
That sounds
you know,
like Fred.
me, I'm not 25 anymore. I don't know if you can tell, but maybe you can. But, you know, we're going to tell these kids to go ahead and get a new chorus.
That's true, but you can argue that back through all the generations.
That's true.
People were saying that 10 years ago about the music, the people were saying that about the Beatles when they were coming out. You know?
And this is like a whole, I mean, obviously, this might be even just be a different topic for another day on this program, but I think that one day I would love the opportunity just to talk about the overall writing themes of lyrical content in current American music. I think that 30 to 40 years ago, music was used as a platform to communicate ideas and the things that were going on in our country and the problems that were going on and the things that we needed to focus on. And I do notice sometimes, maybe to play devil's advocate to the Hey Ho songs, as much as they are feel good and they feel great singing along, maybe there are things that are of value that we should be focusing on in our music in 2013 and using it as a platform to communicate ideas. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just suggesting the idea.
I think a lot of bands still do that. I mean, and on my Desert Island list was the Beastie Boys Through the Five Boroughs. Is that the right? Like, that album is intense. It addresses a lot of stuff that was relevant then and is even more relevant now. It's like a prophetic album.
There's always people writing about current events. It's just a question of whether it's ebbing or flowing through what's popular and what's actually making it to the mainstream at that point in time.
And like even the song, this new chick, she's 16 from New Zealand, Lord.
Yeah.
She's 16 years old. That's a pretty dark song. We'll never be royals.
Yeah.
Like we don't have zip code envy. Like they're poor as dirt, but like in her mind, they're tops, you know, like that song is all over the radio. Yeah, so I think it depends on like what band you're listening to, and you know, it might not be so much in pop music, but I think that there are definitely people talking about a lot of relevant, pushing the boundaries topics. Yeah. But I like the Hey Ho bands because they make me feel good.
All right, we're debating the Hey Ho bands on today's What It Is here on imavl.com. Drop us a comment here on the website and let us know your thoughts about all of this. You can also tweet us at imavl. I'm Joe Kendrick. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.